Hello friends and enemies, welcome to or back to Happy For Now. It's me, Isabel, here with my favorite manga of 2023. I decided to break this up into two categories, 5 different series each. One of them is going to be my ongoing series that I loved this year, and then my finished series that I loved this year. So whether that series finished in 2023 or I finished it in 2023, we're counting it for a finished series. So basically, if you want to pick something up that you know is completed, or if you want to pick something up that you know is ongoing, we got two options for you. This was really hard to narrow down to 5 for each, but I didn't want to I didn't want to do 20. That was too much, I felt like. And I felt like it felt good. 5 felt good. These are going to be in no particular order. We'll dive in first with the ongoing series that I've been loving in 2023. First things first, we have probably not a big surprise, but My Happy Marriage. This has become one of my all-time favorite series of 2023. This is on the favorites list. Every volume just gets better. So, I mean, really. This follows a Cinderella-inspired tale around a girl who has been kind of neglected and rejected from her family when her dad remarried, especially because she didn't have the magical powers. This world is a mix of historical and fantasy, paranormal-y stuff happening. This, which I love, and she gets sent off to marry him because he is the pickiest man in town, basically, and the marriage would be advantageous for her, obviously, but also he's rejected every single woman that has come to live in his home to become his bride, except for her. She wiggles her way in there, and we see her just struggling, very Cinderella-esque struggles here, she's used to being in the kitchen and doing all these tasks and chores because that's what her family made her do all the time. And him and his housekeeper slowly help her come out of her shell, and it's just beautiful. And we also get rumblings of the fact that maybe things aren't as they seem with her abilities. But yeah, this is a really interesting read. I really love the art. The art in this is absolutely stunning. And I truly am obsessed, and I'm double dipping reading the light novel as well. So, okay, let's talk about a digital only release that I am obsessed with and I think deserves to be on this list. I picked from one of the two that I am obsessed with, and I did pick Matcha Made in Heaven because I have been running to read the new volume every single time I get one, and I've been doing that less with the other one I'm reading that I also really enjoy. But Matcha Made in Heaven is the perfect slice of life josei romance for me. She runs away from her job in Tokyo, and her ex-fiance shows up and is no, we have to get married, and she's I'm engaged to this guy who is the guy helping run her family's matcha farm, who is this big kind of quiet man who is obsessed with tea making, matcha making specifically, obviously, and I just love their dynamic. She's a little bit more chaotic and he's just very stoic, and it's their very slow relationship to actually kind of falling for each other, and it's really sweet and romantic. Her niece in the story is also very attached to the two of them being together, which is precious, so precious. I loved it. I've loved it so much, and it's one of those ones that I'm really hopeful we get a print of, print editions of, because I will be picking it up immediately in print. Let's go the opposite route. Let's talk about something messy. So messy, and I love mess, good mess. This is good mess, and that is Yakuza Fiance. This I'd read digitally a little bit before it came out because I was very intrigued by it. Somebody had suggested it somewhere, and I'd read the first volume, and then it came out physically, and I was I'm in immediately upon rereading. We are following 2 children of Yakuza members. One is from Okinawa, and the other one is from Tokyo. Our heroine, she's from Okinawa, and he is our Tokyo guy, and he is nuts. He is off his rocker. Nuts, y'all. So she goes to Tokyo and starts going to school with him, and it's kind of not sure what to think of him, and as she pushes him away, he's no, wait, I love you. I like you a lot, actually, because she's not just bending over to his whims and needs and giving in. She's fighting back, and he's oh, I like this. And I love the just absolute chaos that this series has been. We're 5 volumes in right now, and honestly, every volume has some sort of twist, and I'm what on earth? And it just keeps happening. So that's been fantastic to read and to visit and to be in. I mostly have just truly been getting a new volume and devouring it pretty quickly, and I'm happy for myself for that. This is one where if you've liked Something's Wrong with Us, maybe you enjoy Yakuza Lover, but you want a little more plot and a lot more what the F is going on, Yakuza Fiance is the perfect book for you. And my favorite Yuri / incomplete, ongoing Yuri Sapphic book of 2023 is She Loves to Cook, She Loves to Eat. This combines my love of multiple things, which is food, sapphics, and just a really fun setup for a relationship. They're neighbors, and our redhead loves to cook, and she ends up feeding the other neighbor who loves to eat. And by volume 2, we've had a little bit of exploration about like their identities and being like queer, and I really enjoyed that element. But also the food art in this is beautiful. I absolutely loved seeing the pictures of the food. And they're dynamic. They're just really precious, and both like really awkward with men and stuff, which I think is really funny because, I mean, you know, I can only imagine sometimes having to deal with people being like, you know, what is up with you? Look at that food. Look at those. They look so good. Anyways, I really enjoyed the art in this. I've really enjoyed reading this. I think this is just easily one of my favorites, and it gives me similar vibes to another book I'm going to talk about in a bit that is also sapphic and that I loved last year. But it just kind of is a warm hug of a book, and that's what I need sometimes. Last but not least is going to be my favorite steamship title, which is, I feel like, the hardest one to recommend to people, but I love it so much. Now this is a close second with one that is probably going to be on my finished series in 2024, which is Ladies on Top. But this one I love so much. Ladies on Top I also love. I really debated between the two, but Outbride, Beauty and the Beast, I am loving the white shoes element here. I'm just like, I leave every volume so intrigued and curious as to what's coming. Like, I just want to know what's going to happen every time I finish. So that's why I picked it over Ladies on Top. I do want to know what's going to happen with Ladies on Top, but we're also almost through the series, so I'm like, it's fine. I don't know when this ends, but I'm loving the like weird, it is a weird josei smutty manga situation happening here, and I've just been enjoying it. Like, they have to exchange fluids for her to survive in the world, which is like a whole thing. And also the plot reveals we've gotten like in the last few volumes just have me so intrigued that I'm left like just anticipating what's to come, you know? So I'm currently just excited to see where we go in volume 5 and beyond. This could end and I could end up hating it. But for now, as an ongoing series, I'm obsessed. Again, it's one that I think is like not going to work for everyone. Let's talk about finished series that I finished in 2023 and loved. First up, we're going to start off with my sweet one, which is Donuts Under a Crescent Moon. This is a 4-volume complete sapphic story about 2 co-workers, and I really loved this. I think this is fantastic. The mangaka has a new series out that I'll be reading soon in 2024. I loved this. I think this was a really sweet and fun sapphic read, a really good story. I liked the development between the characters. I liked how it came together. I think that this is just one of those ones that, like, it's 4 volumes. If you like reading Yuri, like, you should be picking it up. It definitely, like, has a little bit of, like, tug and pull, but overall, the art's stunning and the story is fantastic. It also explores them, like, trying to have normal romances with men and not working and having to, like, accept their queerness. And I don't know, something about that worked really well for me. Let's do one of the two that I didn't get down. So next, let's talk about Demon Slayer, which I did finish in 2023, and I cannot believe it took me this long, 1, to read all of Demon Slayer, but 2, how good it was. I like shonens. I've talked about this before. I like shonens generally, though I prefer them as animes, and I liked the Demon Slayer anime so much that I started reading the manga. Grumps had already read it and was like, you need to read the manga so we can talk about it, so I finally did, and I'm so glad I did. And I have the box set, and I'm so glad I do, because I loved this series. I think this is such a fun setup. So we follow Tanjiro, who's trying to save his sister, Nezuko, basically, who's been turned kind of into a demon situation, and we follow their journey across the land and fighting a bunch of different demons and training and learning and picking up friends along the way. It is like a gut-wrenching story at the same time. Like, I cried at moments. There were moments that made me cry in this, and I think there's just so much to be said for how much the story, like, integrated so many elements and things, but also, like, carried you through pretty quickly to, like, a concrete, logical resolution to everything happening. It was a good time, but also depressing. And Michael Jackson's the villain, kind of, which was so weird. It's so good, and I really can't recommend Demon Slayer anime or manga enough, or both. Do both. Do both! Join me, do both. Next, let's do Boys Run the Riot, which features Rio, our trans main character, exploring their identity and what it means to be that, and through fashion, basically, completely through fashion. And then their classmate, what was his name? Jin, the new transfer student, and him start a fashion line together, and it's just this really beautiful story about how we use clothes to express ourselves. and also just figuring out your identity as a teen and how hard that can be. I loved this 4-volume set. I think if you are looking for a trans manga to read in 2024, this is a great option. I think you can't go wrong here. I've heard good word from people with that identity enjoying the representation in this as well, so I think that's really important. And yeah, it was just fantastic. I don't have a ton to say about it. The art and fashion art in this is also really good. But I loved their journey to start like a little fashion brand. It was so fun and enjoyable to follow. Okay, next we have My Love Mix-Up. This finished in 2023 as well, and it's only 9 volumes. So like not a terrible investment if you did want to read it, and also likely available. I don't know if it's in the Viz Media app, but it's the one that your library is likely to have. This is a really cute story. This follows our 2 main characters who end up in an accidental relationship basically due to a mistaken name on an eraser that is dropped, but also in the similar themes explores a lot about sexuality and identity and feelings when you're a teen, which I feel like is a place when a lot of these things come up for us, and many of us repressed them probably, and many of us also embraced them. And this is kind of the story of them embracing it. We follow a couple other relationships throughout the book. It's just really precious and sweet. I'm planning to watch the live action adaptation in this year because I really enjoyed the story, so I felt like it would be a blast to also watch it on screen. But yeah, I really loved this. I think this was such a surprise for me because I was nervous at first when I was reading it, and then as the story progressed, I just got happier and happier. There was a moment of like some fat phobia in like volume 7 that is like not great, but overall still a really delightful read with like just precious, sweet young love, and I love that sort of stuff so much. Alright, and last but not least by any means is Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku. Hold on, this moved a little, there we go. This is such a fantastic read. I put this off because I was reading Sweat and Soap and loving it, and I was like, it's similar but different than Sweat and Soap, and I finally marathoned it all this year, and I'm so glad I did. This is complete at 6 volumes. It's technically like, I guess 12 or 11 volumes, because like they're bind-ups of 2 volumes, but this follows 2 nerds who have been friends since they were children and their romance, and also a bunch of romance in their friend group that is just really precious and sweet, and you get a variety of romances throughout. Overall, I really loved this. It's not as high as Sweat and Soap for me, but it is in my top 5 like romance mangas that I've ever read now. And it just was so precious, and I related a lot to the nerd stuff in it, of course, as a nerd. And I enjoyed reading about these otakus like falling in love and finding love and playing their video games together, and it just felt so sweet and precious to follow along with all of their romances, and also at the same time be able to just kind of enjoy the story happening amongst all of them. It can be a little hard sometimes for me to follow multiple relationships in mangas, but the way this one unfolded like worked out perfectly because we just like kind of slowly kept adding more people to different relationship pairings. Yeah, this was a really fun one, and I am planning to hopefully watch the anime this year because I did really enjoy it. So yeah, those are all of my favorites for 2023. Let me know your favorite ongoing and finished series that you read last year, and if you don't want to do any of that, you can leave me a nerdy gamer emoji of your choice. We'll go with that. I will have links to all these manga for you down there, as well as links to my friend anywhere on the internet, and I will talk to y'all in just a few days. Bye!
Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be. Life with no distractions. We'll get away. This is what